Heroes Forge, a Heroes of the Storm podcast.
Well, Forgers, it's good to see you again. Welcome to episode 8 of Heroes Forge, a community-driven podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I'm your host, Jeff Reynolds, and as always, I am joined by the show's amazing co-host, Kristen Ashton. Hello, Kristen.
Hello, Jeff. How are you doing today?
I am very, very good. It is so good to be doing another episode of Heroes Forge. So tell me a little bit about your week in gaming. How was your week this week?
Well, this week in gaming was actually quite exciting. I got to start BioShock for the first time. And this is the first time I've played through. I've seen the story, I've watched it unfold, but I've never played it. And the gameplay is intuitive and clean and magnificent.
Yeah, I am a huge BioShock fan. I was on the train when before the first BioShock came out. I was, it just looked so good at the time it came out. I had it on Xbox 360 when it first launched, and I played through that, and just the concept behind it, I forget exactly because it's been so long, but like it's a first-person shooter, but you also have some sort of like bio weapons that you can use, like that are like built into your body via syringes.
Yes.
I just thought that was so cool.
And then, of course, the plot twist at the end. I'm sure most people out there have played it already, but I'm still not going to ruin it, because if you haven't, I really suggest you do play BioShock.
Yeah, it's worth it, and it's cheap. It's on the cheap now because it's older. It's an older game, but I'm telling you, the music is so creepy.
Certainly, in the atmosphere, and of course the script writing as well. It's an artwork.
Yeah, it's, I just remember in the first scene of the demo, because I even started on the demo before I played the game, there is a woman, I believe she has like a baby carriage.
Yes.
And inside the baby carriage is a weapon, and she's talking to it as if it was a child, because they have all gone crazy. Yeah, it's definitely worth playing. I'm getting all pumped. I want to play it again now that you brought it up.
Well, that's what I do, spread the joy of gaming.
That's right. Spread the joy of gaming. Well, I've had a ton of joy in gaming, still playing Overwatch, still digging it. I had some people that had listened to our Lucio episode last week, and they said, those ideas that Kristen had were so good. I said, I know. I'm telling you, the stage thing, that has taken off in people's mind. They want that in the game, and so do I.
I want that in real life. Let's not lie. These are ideas that if I could personally live out, I would. But since I can't, I have to accept the limitations and put them wherever I can.
Right. That's why we play video games. I mean, that's why we play D&D and all that. And, speaking of D&D, that's a really good point, because I was reading on the first page of the newest D&D edition, it talks about how Dungeons & Dragons and the creation of it has actually influenced almost every single game you play now, whether it's, a tabletop game or even the video game RPG system, all of the leveling up items, it's all been influenced from D&D.
Certainly, that's very true. And I think the one game that I made the most direct connection between that was Knights of the Old Republic.
Right.
Because in the beginning, when you create your character, you have to put the points into strength, dexterity, intelligence, stamina, wisdom. And of course, you end up recreating your character 3 times, because by the 3rd time, you finally figure out your play style and where the points need to go. But that aside...
Oh, that game was a time suck, wasn't it?
Oh, I couldn't put it down.
Man. I think I played that game, just constantly, because I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I love that game. It's really good. So lots of great things happen in the video game world, keeping it real with video games. I dig it. Cool. Did you happen to see Deadpool?
I didn't. How was it?
I haven't seen it either. I was hoping you could tell me how it was.
Oh, gosh. No, yeah, we didn't get a chance to see it, but we did watch Tropic Thunder. We wanted to get a comedy in just because we knew.
Tropic Thunder. That's a good one. That's Robert Downey Jr., isn't that right?
Yes.
Yes,
Classic performances.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about Deadpool, so I'm excited to see it too. It's an interesting take on superhero that they haven't gone with.
Certainly.
I'm not not super familiar with Deadpool in the Marvel comic universe, but it looks like it's a little irreverent, and that's different than what we're used to, with like Captain America or Iron Man even. I mean, he's irreverent, but in a different way, right?
Oh, definitely. And Deadpool's great. From the few panels that I've seen, he breaks fourth wall all of the time. His humor is just R-rated beyond belief. And of course, that's what Marvel is going for with this superhero, is a very adult character that is rated R. It's not going to be the PG-13 stuff with Avengers. No.
Right.
They want to make an adult superhero.
Well, it's again, marketing genius there, I think, because they want to branch out to everybody. They want every type of person to be able to enjoy Marvel movies, which I know I do, and I'm stoked for Civil War. And I know we talked about this offline, but I'm Team Iron Man for sure.
Yep, and I'm Team Captain. I'm Team Cap. Gotta love that Captain America, and mostly because of Bucky Barnes. And I will tell you the story why I really, really, really love Bucky Barnes is because I had started role-playing a Star Wars pen and paper.
Yeah.
And the character I rolled had a metal arm, and she was a punch machine. I can't tell you how many people I would just run up to, beat with my fist, and they'd be down in one hit. And the DM didn't know what to do.
Isn't that great when you break it? When you break the game?
Yep. And then, of course, Captain America Winter Soldier came out right after that happened. And, we came out of that theater, and I was like a little kid just punching things, pretending to throw a shield. It was
I love that film. That film is very good. I think that's really good. And the best scene, believe it or not, in my opinion, is the one with Nick Fury in the Escalade.
Yes!
When he's driving the chase. I think that's so good.
Oh, it was so raw. And then, of course, his car just kept having more and more surprises as to what it could do.
So good. Yeah, I'm just been an Iron Man fan my whole life, so I got to pull for Iron Man.
Well, there you go. Well, I respect your opinion, Jeff.
That's good. I'm glad you respect my opinion.
Some people are very militant, but I respect it.
Dig it. So lots of cool nerdy stuff going on in the world, and I'm glad that we are part of that nerdy stuff going on in the world. And today we have a huge, really, 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 really cool segment that we're bringing to Heroes Forge. It's going to be called the Forger Spotlight, and on Forger Spotlight we're going to be featuring a build or a hero build that we've received from a listener from anywhere that they've submitted it to, whether it's via Twitter, emailing us, or sending us an idea on Twitch chat, anything like that. We've pulled all the ideas together that we've gotten so far, and they're all great. And so we have Forger Spotlights to go on and on and on for quite some time. So keep sending us your ideas, and we'll go over all of that at the end of the show about how you can send it to us. But this week, we are going to be featuring an idea that was sent to us by Twitter user Squinty Eyes, and he sent us the idea. Kristen, why don't you tell us, who are we forging today?
Who are we forging today? Well, we are forging the Innkeeper from Hearthstone, as influenced by Squinty.
That's right, as influenced by Squinty. So let's forge.
Let's forge.
This is the first ever Forger Spotlight. Welcome. The way this is going to work is that we've received an entire build from Squinty about the Innkeeper. I'm going to pick one of the abilities that I loved from that kit. Kristen's going to pick one of the abilities that she loved, and then we're going to build our own kits around that. So they're definitely inspired by the community member Squinty Eyes who sent it to us. So let's get started, because this is going to be great. So if this is your first time listening to Heroes Forge, welcome to the show, and thank you for listening. The way that this works is we're going to go through the entire Heroes kit for the Innkeeper this episode. We're going to start with the Heroes trait and then go all the way through all of their basic abilities, and then the best part is when we get to the end and start talking about the awesome heroic abilities. Some of these ideas are totally off the wall and crazy and wouldn't be practical in the game, but we love to think that Blizzard could make it happen, and we're just brainstorming and having fun. So welcome to the show, and Kristen, let's get started with the Innkeeper. Why don't you give us a little rundown about who the Innkeeper is and a little bit about him?
Can do. All visitors are welcome to Hearthstone Brews Inn, a location rumored to appear at the right time and right place for weary travelers, where they can enjoy a pint and engage in rousing card games. Horde or Alliance, the Innkeeper serves all. Aided by his mouse companion, Stonebrew loves to hear the adventures of those that walk through his doors. But don't let this friendly demeanor fool you. Like many dwarves, he can take out the best of them should trouble start brewing. Even so, he's more than happy to guide newcomers through the rules of the tavern, even taking time out of his busy job to teach them the card game that has made his place quite the happening hangout as of recent. Though no one knows where he came from or when he started serving ale, all recognize Stone Brew for his indefatigable smile and warm welcomes.
So good. When trouble is brewing, that's just...
It was too good to pass up.
It's gold. It really is gold. It's good. And this is another one of those characters. I mean, we've been doing a lot of characters recently that are brand new in the Blizzard universe, right?
Mm-hmm. We did at least Starseeker not too far ago, and she's brand new.
Yeah, she's really new. And then we had Lucio last week, and all those episodes are awesome. And it's because there is this story and this lore even for these new characters, like we always talk about. I mean, we always say that when we forge someone new like this. So tons behind this character. I kind of went off the wall with some of the things that I was doing because I gotta outdo the Lucio from last week.
Bring it.
Here we go. This is part of the fun. So cool. Let's talk about the role classification for the Innkeeper. My very first idea was I thought that he should, believe it or not, be an assassin.
Oh, are we talking melee assassin or ranged assassin?
We're talking ranged assassin.
Oh, what would his weapon of choice be?
So I'm thinking he is basically serving the enemy team, if you know what I mean. Like, serving them.
We're going to keep count of the puns going on this episode.
I know,
here.
tons of puns. So in Hearthstone, on the grand tournament board, maybe you don't, this is kind of a weird thing, but in the bottom left-hand corner, there's like this little food booth.
Yes.
And if you keep clicking on the food, it changes.
Yes.
Like it comes out, it's sausages, and then the next time it comes out, it's like a pie or whatever, and then the next time it comes out, it's a beer. I'm figuring that the Innkeeper is just like throwing random stuff. Like he's throwing a beer and then a pie and then some sausage and, a shepherd's pie, and maybe he throws like, a pint or something. He just keeps throwing things at people.
I love it.
So, I mean, that's how I came up with an assassin thing, and already I'm off the wall.
Well, there we go. And I mean, would he be yelling, "You just got served," when he crits on somebody?
I think that's definite.
Okay.
That goes without saying.
Okay, not even a question.
Yes, very good. I'm adding that in the show notes as we speak. So what were you thinking for the role classification?
I was actually thinking support.
Ooh.
And he would be melee, actually. A melee support.
Oh, so fill me in on this. So he's melee, so what are his basic attacks?
Punches. He's a dwarf, so all I could have in my head was a tiny dwarf punching people. And of course that's not his main role, but,
Right.
When he kicks people out of his inn, he picks them up and chucks them out, I'm sure.
Right, and I mean, you wouldn't want to mess with him. I mean, the pictures that you see of him, you really wouldn't want to mess with the Innkeeper. He looks like he could handle his own, right?
Yeah, he could break a cow in half, it looks like.
Very specific. He could break a cow in half. I love it. Very cool. Cool. So we got an assassin build and we got a support build. So these are going to be real different and fun. So that's good. So let's talk about the trait. What was your idea for the support version of the Innkeeper's trait?
Now the trait I got, this one is directly from Squinty's. This is what I chose from you, Squinty Eyes. Heading Home is what it was called. And your Hearthstone can't be interrupted by damage or stuns. And then I've added on a bit more. When you activate it to have all stuns, roots, and other movement impairing effects that are placed on friendly heroes within a certain area. This drains mana.
Ooh. Those are both good. Bravo, Squinty. I love that because it's directly related to Hearthstone, right? Because you're using your Hearthstone, just like in Warcraft, just like in Hearthstone. It's taking you back to your thing, and it can't be interrupted because you're really the master.
Exactly.
I mean, when you're the Innkeeper, you're the master of the Hearthstone. So I love that. And the roots and stuns, that is game-changing.
It would
I mean, yeah. Right, so anybody that's around you becomes basically freed, right? Is that what you're saying?
Not entirely. I didn't want it to be too OP this time. I'm pulling it back. We're going to play a bit safer. It would just have the durations. So the stuns and roots and
Half them.
Yeah, so they would still happen. They just wouldn't last nearly as long. And it would drain mana, so it wouldn't be something you'd want to keep on the entire time.
Right. Okay, that's cool. That's high skill cap right there. I think you got to choose when you're gonna do it, and especially because your support or your version of the Innkeeper is a support character, you have to choose between doing that or doing something else, right? Because it's gonna take mana out of your other basic abilities.
Exactly.
Cool. I love these high skill cap things, even though I wouldn't be able to play them.
Oh, you'd be able to do it. It just takes
leagues.
practice, you know?
It takes practice, but I really, really like that idea. For the assassin version over here, going with the same, serving feel, my trait was called Order Up. And
Yes!
I feel like it's like, Order Up! It's like that kind of feel. The Innkeeper is always thinking of his customers and serving them as fast as possible, even if they're on the enemy team. While moving, the Innkeeper will gain an attack speed buff. If he stops moving, he will lose the stacks and will need to start to move again to regain them back. If stunned, the stacks are also lost. His basic attacks include serving up drinks, food, and Hearthstone cards to enemy heroes. So you have got this feel of you're in a restaurant, you're at Shake Shack eating a hamburger or something, and they're serving so fast and they're going. And if something happens and it gets them thrown off, they're like, whoa, I was on a roll. That's the kind of thing I was going for, like just quick serving assassin.
And you can feel that too. I mean, how many times have you or I or anyone else been in the middle of work and you're going great, feels great, you're going to get it done before the deadline, and then something comes up and you lose it. You lose your golden focus.
Right, you were on a roll and then somebody interrupted you.
Yep.
I mean, that's basically what I was thinking of. So just the assassin version would just be attacking quickly, kind of like a Vala, like that kind of feel where it builds up. Because she has a something she can take where the more she attacks, the faster she attacks.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So something like that in the assassin version of the Innkeeper. So, and then when I was thinking about his mounts, I was thinking he'd be able to ride, the brown horse. He'd ride normal mounts, but if he had a specialty one, this is really coming out of left field. I think he should ride like a Mr. Toad's wild ride, like a Model T kind of car.
Yes.
With like the Hearthstone logo printed on the side of it, like it's like.
With a little tire on the back with the Hearthstone on it.
And I really don't know why, but that's what I was thinking.
Well, think about it. It would work. It would work, right? Because he would have his little glasses on. He'd probably have to put a little scarf, riding cap. It would be great.
Yeah. What were you thinking for his mount?
I was thinking a bit crazier. I was thinking, what if the other heroes could interact with mounts? What if you make mounts a part of gameplay? And I went with something called Tavern, where any friendly hero, and of course, okay, so let me back up. So he summons his mount, it's a tavern on wheels, and it starts going. So any friendly hero with low health or energy can also hitch a ride, drinking brews that slowly regenerate everything. Once fully restored, however, the hero is kicked out. It would basically be the hero's party van.
That's amazing. That is such a. I'm picturing like the house from Up on balloons, like floating, something like that, So the tavern is just, you're saying it's just going across the battlefield, and it's basically kind of like a medevac dropship where people can jump into it and start like partying.
Exactly.
And when they're getting out of hand, they get kicked out.
Exactly. Yep, it's just a janky tavern on wheels. I mean, clearly the seats are going to be rattling, and heroes might have to hold on to the van so they don't
Right.
fall off. But yep.
Yes, and Squinty is actually in the chat, and he's saying he wants a Heroes of the Storm party van. This is the Heroes of the Storm party van right here.
It's laid out. It's
That
laid out
would
and
be
good to go.
So funny. That'd be so, and practical. I mean, because that's what originally when they announced Morales, and they talked about the medevac dropship, which moves quickly over the battlefield.
Yes.
I figured that it was also going to heal the people up inside of it because of her support role.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
with this idea, it probably, are you thinking it wouldn't move that fast? Maybe at a normal mounted speed?
Yes, normal mounted speed. That wouldn't change at all.
So what happens when you get hit? Like if they're all in the tavern, do they all just like fly out of this thing?
Yeah, I think in order to have it viable, one hit would knock it out, just like a regular mount.
Yeah, and then maybe they're like stunned for a second or something because they're gaining something from this being inside of this traveling tavern.
Yeah, and
So
clearly they're
maybe-
partying hard, so they might have to get their balance back, which would definitely work as a stun.
God, that's so good. When we get on these good ideas, I just want to keep talking about them because they're so good. That is such a great idea. And very, very, very good. So that's the mount. So we've got the awesome moving tavern for Kristen's version of the support Innkeeper. So Kristen, what were you thinking about for a Q? Q is always one of the ones that's harder for me because it changes a lot in the game what Qs do. Obviously, all the heroes do different things, but sometimes you can think about like line attacks or things like that. So what was your idea for Q?
Well, Q, I was inspired with Lily because the Innkeeper, he throws brews to people, and it's always noted in the what little Hearthstone lore there is that he's continually serving people drinks as fast as possible. So I thought he would do a Lily thing where he serves up pints to nearby friendly heroes. However, instead of health, it would be increased energy regeneration.
Oh.
Because we don't have a hero that does much energy restoration. It's all focused on health.
Right. That's really, really interesting. So when you say energy, you mean like the cooldowns of the abilities, or do you mean like the mana regen, or what exactly do you mean?
The mana regen. And I know
The
it's
mana.
different for everybody. Some people have hatred, so,
Right. Yeah. Oh, you're right. Yeah. So that's a good way. So, wow. Yeah. Ooh. That would be a good pick with a lot of different. There's a lot of different heroes out there that would be a good pick for that. Ooh, I dig it. To have the Innkeeper on your side is what I'm saying. I'm thinking all in my head and not saying what I'm thinking out loud. That's what I mean. That would be a good pick to have the Innkeeper on your side if you had, somebody that had massive cooldowns or something so that he could support you in that way of, or abilities that used a lot of mana, because then you could totally bring his mana pool higher, like Morales.
Oh, definitely.
Double support with the Morales and an Innkeeper on this build would be really good, because then health would just be crazy and people's mana regen would be crazy
Oh
too.
my goodness, they'd be unstoppable.
Yeah, I dig it. So the assassin build that I did for Q, I'm doing something called the Boombot Shot.
Ooh.
The Boombot Shot. And activating Q for the Innkeeper sends a specialty order to the enemy heroes. A Boombot Shot. The Boombot attaches to an enemy hero and will detonate at a random time with a random amount of damage. It can be talented into later in the game to allow the Innkeeper to detonate all Boombots at the same time.
Oh, no.
But only one Boombot can be placed on a hero at a time. So I'm really going for just random things. Like I always talk about with Hearthstone, it's the random game moments in the game that make it for me, like either make or break it. So with this Boombot Shot, it kind of crawls up, attaches onto you, and then it's going to go off whenever. It's just going to go off, and it's going to do a random amount of damage in between. It's going to have parameters, but basically in between these parameters, it's going to do this. So you could be running and trying to escape, and then the Boombot would just go off. Or maybe you have tons of health and it goes off and doesn't do a whole lot.
Oh my goodness.
So That's the random part.
Yes, and does it stack? Could somebody just be covered in boom bots?
No, I was thinking only one boom bot, but maybe that would be something you could talent into. So you talent into multiple boom bots onto people, or I really wanted the Innkeeper to be able to put boom bots on every, like, it's a skill shot in my mind. So you're skill shotting all the enemy heroes, and then if he just like pulled out the detonator and was like, goodbye, boom, and just
yes.
that would be talented too. Like, you would talent into that, is what I was thinking.
Oh, I like that. And dude, you're capturing this random generation thing perfectly. And of course, the serving. It's beautiful.
Yes.
It's gorgeous. This is great.
So,
all I can see is an ETC covered in bombs.
yeah, running around. You don't know when they're going to explode.
And do they do area of effect damage?
Oh, that's good. I like that too, because then it would be kind of like a Tyrael thing where when Tyrael dies, everybody runs away. But this would be like, oh crap, our own healer has a boombot on them. We've got to run or it's going to detonate all of us. I dig that idea. Yeah, that's cool. So yes, I think area of effect would be more fun. And again, it would do probably the same amount of damage as, you know, a normal skill shot like Jaina's hungering arrow or you know, her arrow shot. That's what I was thinking. That way it would not be too OP.
Yeah, I know. Heaven forbid we go too far with this.
Heaven forbid we go too far with this. And if you think we don't go too far, listen to the Nozdormu episode and you'll see how far we can go.
All of the silences as we imagine just how frustrating those Nozdormu choices would be.
Exactly. But it was a blast. It was so great. So I built my whole kit around Squinty's idea for W, and I did a little thing like you did, and I added onto it just a little bit. So his idea was the Mad Bomber, and this again was submitted by Squinty Eyes, and we for his idea it would do a certain amount of damage to 3 enemies randomly in the area. So if you've played Hearthstone before, when you play this card, it does damage to enemies in the area. It just throws a bomb at random, and it can hit the other player's face. It can hit their other minions. It hits them all randomly. So that's exactly what I built my whole kit around, was that idea of just the random attacks, randomness inside of it. So I figured we would keep that idea, but I wanted to put it in the theme of my character. So Squinty, I changed the name to the Mad Sake Bomber.
Oh.
There you go.
Oh. Would they suffer effects of drunkenness?
Definitely. I think that's a great idea. We're just building on this. Yes, they would suffer effects of drunkenness and they would take some damage. So the Mad Sake Bomber.
I love it. And then how much damage are we talking here? Would it hit, so it could potentially hit one hero 3 times, correct?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Or it could hit 3 random heroes. It could hit the one that you don't want to hit. It could hit, you know, just that's what we're going for here with this random thing where you're rolling the dice and you see somebody that could take lethal by this bomber, but you know, you don't know if it's going to hit or not.
Oh, and here's one thing that would work into positioning too. If there's only one person nearby, automatically I'm assuming all 3 hits would hit that person.
Yep, just like in Hearthstone, if they don't have any minions on the board and you play this card, all the damage goes face.
Go face? What does they say? Face is the place after all?
That's right. It is in some cases in Hearthstone too. I think that's good strategy, because you could just hit your Mad Sake Bomber right when they're around, and it would just do all the damage to one hero.
Yeah, and could you imagine hiding in the bushes, being you wouldn't be stealth, of course, but you would definitely want to be the roamer, because you could just catch enemy heroes that are alone and just do the 3 damage to their face and then run away laughing to yourself.
Yeah.
That's what I do anyway.
While they're still reeling because they're drunk as they're hit, you know, Mad Sake Bomber, you know. So yeah, that was Squinty's idea for W. And so, Kristen, what was your idea for W?
I did a little something called Overload. And while Heading Home is active, and that's the trait where in an area everyone has the roots, stuns, and movement impairing effects halved,
Right. Yeah.
you can place a buff on a selected target, giving them extra mana and reduced cooldowns for a brief period of time.
Ooh. Okay, cool. Because that's going for the mana regen thing again
Yes.
for this kind of support. Because you're right, there are none. So, okay, what was it called again?
Overload.
Overload. Yeah, because that's a Hearthstone card as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool. I just keep thinking about how great of a combo some of these things would be. These heroes that use so much mana, and there's only, they have to talent into it themselves in order to regen mana or hit a healing fountain.
Certainly.
So,
Certainly. And could you imagine a Kael'thas with an Innkeeper babysitting him the whole time? It would be madness. There would be fire everywhere.
yeah. Oh, yeah, and the assassins, the healers would benefit huge from that. I mean, yeah, I just keep going back to Morales because I play a lot of Morales,
Yeah.
and I can't tell you how many times I've hearthed for mana. And if you had a ability or a way to get mana back quicker, like playing with your Innkeeper, that'd be legit.
Certainly. And then I've heard also Li Ming has run into a lot of mana issues. Apparently, even though she runs on mana, she runs
Right.
out pretty quickly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Li Ming would be back in the OP scene if they did that. That's great. Cool. So, what were you thinking for E?
For E, it's called Sick'em. And the Innkeeper sends out his trusty mouse companion that then bites the first enemy hero it comes into contact with. This bite translates into reduced mana regen for that enemy hero and interrupts anything that was active at the time of bite.
So good. Counter. That's so good. Okay, so is it a line attack? Does it have a range?
I want to say it is a line attack and it does have a range, probably like Vala's Vault. It's a very
Right.
comfortable range. Seems to work very well in the game.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking of the animation now of this little mouse. Is it a mouse or a rat?
That's a good question. I want to say mouse, but I
think it's a
could be
mouse.
wrong. I could be wrong.
I think it's a mouse. I think you're right because that's way more approachable than a rat. I think in this game. So if it's a mouse and it runs out, oh, it's just a great animation. I think that's a great idea.
And it would be so hard to see too because it's just a little guy. So maybe it makes a really annoying squeaky sound when you let it go.
Yeah, and in a team fight, it would be really hard to see.
Oh my goodness. But maybe that would be part of it.
Yeah,
Training people to be more observant.
exactly. And then hitting the backline heroes with it who don't see it coming, and those are usually the ones that are using more mana.
Yes.
Well thought. I like that. My idea for E was called Employees Only. And the Innkeeper summons an unstable portal that leads anywhere the team currently has sight at random. It can be summoned and used only by the Innkeeper because it's Employees Only.
Fair enough.
So he just goes, bam, summons a portal. He walks through it, and then you're just going to come out of that portal somewhere on the map that you have sight.
I love it.
So if somebody's pushing up top, you could come out of that and you just be next to them. Or you could be back by the core, or you could be in a random bush somewhere that someone has sight in. Or just it's an escape, but it's just, again, playing on that randomness.
Certainly. So if it's an escape, would the portal summon then be immediate?
Yeah, I think so. I think you'd hit it, and instead of vaulting forward or jumping like a Mirrodin kind of thing, you'd hit it, and then you would just step through the portal. It would just
Gotcha.
show up and just step through it. So you don't. It wasn't like our idea for the Dark Wanderer way back when we did that, where he would summon a portal and then people could choose to activate it and walk through it.
Yes.
This is more of a escape. So it just shows up and you just walk right through it.
Perfect.
And then I can't believe how maddening it would be to have sight somewhere you shouldn't be, and then you just come out. I mean, that's the part where it's little less OP because it could fail for you.
Exactly. And you could imagine, too, that you would jump through the portal only to be teleported behind the enemy team because you happen to have sight back there.
Right. Oh, I didn't think of that. Yeah, you're right. because you could just be teleported a foot, and then you would die. So, but I guess you would have a greater probability if it was equal to every other place on the map. You'd have a greater probability of being somewhere safe, I guess, or somewhere different.
Exactly, far enough away that you could make an escape.
Right. Cool. So I think we heard your E, we heard everything. So I think now it's on to the creme de la creme, the most fun on Heroes Forge. Let's forge the heroics.
Heroic.
All right, I think mine are a little OP, so I'm going to start with one. Start with my heroic ability number 1 is called Brawl. So the Innkeeper is always on security watch at the inn. But if a fight breaks out, sometimes he's just got to step back and let him fight it out. So Brawl is an AoE spell that targets all heroes in the area and places them in a brawl, eliminating all heroes from the battle and randomly selecting one of each team to win the brawl. These heroes emerge from the brawl cloud victorious, but all other heroes are placed on a death timer.
A death timer?
Yeah.
What does this death timer do?
No, like when you die in the game, and so your
Oh.
death timer pops up, and you gotta wait. So in Hearthstone, there's a card called Brawl.
Yes.
And you throw it down, and all enemy and friendly minions, all minions go into this big brawl cloud, and only one minion comes out alive.
Yes, isn't that a warrior card?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I think you're right. It is a warrior card. So only one comes out alive. So I was thinking it would be crazy if you could take all the heroes, put them into a huge brawl cloud, and they're just clashing, fighting it out, and then all of a sudden just 2 heroes, one from each team, pops up, and then you've got to think on your feet like, oh crap, it was Lily and Chen.
Oh.
What are they going to do? Or it's Jaina and Jaina, if you're playing quick match. We've both popped out of this thing. What are we going to do? Are we going to fight each other to the death, or what are we going to do? And then all other heroes have to wait for a respawn.
Oh my gosh. So all other heroes basically die.
Right, yeah, they die.
Oh my goodness. That would be so infuriating.
And the innkeeper is part of it. So like if he throws a brawl down, everybody that's in that AoE area, so you really got to choose when you're going to throw the brawl down and make sure you can get everybody in it, or you're going to lose.
Yeah.
So that was my first heroic ability idea. I knew it was going to be OP. I just wanted to try to get brawl in there somehow.
That's amazing. Now, could you throw it on just the enemy team? Or would you have to have at least one fellow hero in there?
I'm thinking that the AoE would be around the Innkeeper. So like as you're moving, the circle moves with you. You don't target it. Mm-hmm. So like you start the brawl, ding, ding, ding. Everybody jumps into this big cloud and starts battling.
Oh my goodness.
OP, because you could, but that's another way that the games would last longer. Like when we were talking about Nose Dormu being able to pause objectives, if you could just wipe both teams at the click of, a button and have them have to do something different, it could make the games last longer, I guess.
Oh, definitely. And then it could potentially work to prevent snowballing. And I don't think snowballing's been too bad as of late, but it's always a concern.
Yeah. Cool. What was your idea for your first heroic?
This one is called Play Fair, and it's a global passive buff for all team members that serves to protect them during ganks. No friendly Hearthing hero can be damaged or interrupted, essentially making them invincible until they successfully port back to base.
That is powerful.
Yep, so they could be caught unawares and then stunned, rooted, whatever needs to happen to prevent them from hitting B. But as soon as they successfully hit B, all bets are off.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a game changer too. I really like that.
And then too, that would help those people that are always caught out by themselves, because I guess they figured it was a good idea when the other team is roaming and ganking 5v1s that they could take all 5 by themselves.
Yeah. they could run in there. Oh, that happens all the time for me. Not that I do that.
No,
But
no.
I've never done that. Not even in my first couple of games. Not even today.
No.
But I love that. That's really cool, and it keeps to the flavor of support too, which is really neat. Cool. So what's your second heroic ability idea?
Second heroic, my house, my rules.
Ooh.
Though a peacekeeper, the innkeeper holds his own, delving into his dwarven strength and becoming the bouncer unfortunate souls know him to be. Punching his way to victory, each successfully landed punch gives his team increased mana regen. Each successful third punch on an enemy hero knocks them back and teleports them to a random location on the map.
He's the bouncer, baby. I love it. That is so cool. Okay, so it's like Bucky Barnes punching people again.
There we go. He wouldn't need a metal arm because he's a dwarf. I understand they're naturally strong, but
This is full circle here, bringing it all the way back to the beginning of the episode.
there we go.
So does he increase, like, does his tune in the game increase in size?
No. He's still
so-
he's still a very short, stumpy dwarf.
So it's even more painful when you get kicked out of the bar after the third punch.
Exactly. Your pride is wounded. There's no coming back from it, really.
So is it on a timer? Like that this happens? Or is this like, because I'm thinking if you're trying to land 3 successful punches on somebody to boot them out of the pub, are you trying to do this in a certain amount of time? Or do you just have, what do you think?
I think it would be in a certain amount of time if we're going with the whole idea that once you notice the bouncer, you'll know to stay back.
Yeah, the bouncer. That's so cool. Yeah, that's another good way to support people, is to be able to kick other heroes out. I mean, when you're in the Dragon Knight, and a good way to support is to make sure that you're booting somebody that's going to do more damage to you or to the people that are around you. And so another high skill cap thing is you'd have to be thinking, you'd have to be on top of your tab key, because you'd have to go, okay, KT on the other team isn't doing as much damage as Li Ming, so when I get to the point where I can start booting people out, I got to focus on Li Ming so I can hit her 3 times and get her out of here.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's a thing I need to do more anyway, is to make sure that I'm on top of how much damage the enemy team and even your team is doing. I mean, I feel like the better players are on top of that, don't you?
Certainly. Well, and I know from watching Kyle quite a bit, especially when he's a healer, he really pays attention to the star players on his team so he can focus them and give them the extra push they need to see his team to success.
Right.
And something I've noticed, though, if you've never done it for yourself, narrate your own games. Pretend you're streaming them and talk yourself through why you're making certain decisions, why you're doing this, why you're here at this particular time, and whether or not you're going to stop an enemy push or not. It's cathartic, really, and it really helps you isolate your own problems as well as your strengths, so you know what to work on and how to get better and play a map good.
That's a huge piece of advice. I'm going to do that tonight. I'm going to try that and play, because I'm sure I would be saying things like, oh, okay, now I'm going to cast Healing Beam on this person, and that was a huge mistake, and now I'm going to cast it over here, and I'm going to do that.
Yeah, and it might feel silly, but man, it's fun. And it really helps you notice a lot of things.
Yeah, that's because sometimes you just get caught up in a huge team fight and you're not really sure what's going on. And you just start
Exactly.
pressing buttons or freaking out, or at least I do.
Yeah.
So that's good. I like that. And I love your second heroic. I think that's so great. The punching, just that's got a real dwarf feel to it, to be able to just punch them. It's great. So my second heroic is called, if this area needs attention, please contact management.
I love these names. You have nailed your build, man. The consistency throughout is beautiful.
I spent hours sweating over these. I had to beat the stage, but I don't think I did. The Innkeeper summons his right-hand barback, Charles O'Shamus, the Plunger Master, to help in the brawl for a short period of time. Charles has auto attacks and also casts an additional auto attack each time a friendly hero uses an ability.
Oh my goodness.
So Charlie only has auto attacks. Charles is only concerned with cleaning up, so his attacks hit random enemies because he's had a little fun at the pub himself. So it summons another person, kind of like what is it? Abathur can change into,
yes,
one of the other heroes in the battle. This just brings another person to the fight. And this guy that I made up called Charles O'Shamus. Don't look for him in the lore because he doesn't exist. It's a HeroesForge original. He wields a plunger. And he's drunk, and so he just goes around and he just auto attacks people. But he gets a special extra attack when the heroes use abilities. It like pumps him up. He's like, "Yeah, you throw that blizzard down, bam, bam."
Yeah, got this. Woo, buff fight.
Exactly. So he has a health pool and he's on a timer. So he just kind of comes in, helps clean up the mess, and then he goes back to, doing whatever it is he's doing, hanging out with, people playing Hearthstone in the pub or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
the Valera. She attracts a lot of attention. She's pretty popular.
She does.
Especially with O'Shamus. Now, would you be adverse to O'Shamus having a great time in the bar fight because he just loves fighting and leaving his plunger on the face of the last enemy he hits, blinding them until they can pull the plunger off of their face?
Love it. I am not opposed to that. In fact, it's added. It's in the game right now on the PTR. You can check it out. Check out Charles O'Shamus's plunger face attack.
Beautiful.
That's in the game. That's a great idea.
There will be debates held whether that's worse than Murky's slime.
Oh yeah, there would be debates all about that. Murky slime. You're a huge Murky player, huh?
Oh, Murky is my lifeblood.
You're going to have to show me or coach me because whenever I do it, I just get really frustrated. Probably because I die so often, but I think I just have to accept it.
Yeah, that's the fun part of it, is that even if you die, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's not like other heroes where you get yelled at for dying. With Murky, just die and come back.
Yeah, or get reported for feeding if you're on my level and people are just like, I don't know what that is, you just keep dying, and then they just report people for feeding. But
jeez. Happy Bronze League, everybody.
I know, happy Bronze League. Yeah, I'm lucky most of you are really good at this game and you don't have to come and play with me because sometimes it's not as fun. Oh man, but what is fun is doing these builds and building them off of Squinty Eyes' ideas. I mean, just starting from Squinty's idea for the Mad Bomber on my side, and then the Hearthstone trait on your side, not being able to be interrupted. I mean, those are awesome ideas that build really fun heroes for HeroesForge. So, Squinty, I tip my cap to you. That was a great idea, and it was a lot of fun building off of those. I mean, we had the Boombot shot, we had the awesome portable inn, the party bus, the the Heroes of the Storm party bus. That is so good. And I mean, talking even about, portals and bringing all these elements from Hearthstone into Heroes of the Storm, it's great. And then all of the stuff that we talked about, it was just a blast. So thank you, Squinty. And if you'd like to submit ideas for next month's Forger Spotlight, where we take your ideas and build heroes out of them, send them to our email address, which is contactheroesforge@gmail.com. That's contactheroesforge@gmail.com. Send it to us and we will look them over. We have some great ideas for some heroes coming up too. So if you've sent some in already, we read you loud and clear. We think they're great and we're working on it now. So I think that's pretty much it for the show. And if you enjoyed the show, there's a whole bunch of places that you can find us. You can find us on our own website, which is heroesforge.club. Over there, we've posted all of the previous episodes that we've had of the show. We've forged StarCraft characters, Diablo characters, characters from World of Warcraft. I mean, we've hit even Overwatch characters last week, and last week was an awesome episode featuring Lucio from Overwatch. Head on over to our website to check it out. You can also find us on Twitter if you'd like to get updates throughout the week of what heroes we might be forging on Sunday nights. You can find us on Twitter @ForgeHeroes. Over there we make an announcement at the end of the week, just kind of giving you a hint at what we're doing on Sunday. So follow us on Twitter. You can like us on youtube.com/HeroesForge, and also you can download all of the shows on iTunes and subscribe over there on iTunes as well. And if you love the show over on iTunes, shoot us a 5-star review and leave us a comment so we can give you a shout out on the show for doing that, because it really helps us out to get the 5-star reviews on iTunes. So I think that's everything. Kristen, where can people find you on the interwebs?
People can find me at Dream Destroyer, DRMDESTRYR. I'm there on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter. Also, my Ripped for BlizzCon blog, rippedforblizzcon.weebly.com, where I share fitness and health information.
Yeah, I dig the Ripped for BlizzCon. I am going to, believe it or not, start running a half marathon at the end of this year.
Nice.
I'm going to try to do all that stuff, so I'm definitely going to be reading Ripped for BlizzCon because you got some really great ideas over there. I dig it. Cool. And the last thing I'd like to say is we do have our Patreon page that we just recently started, and we have some awesome goals over there on the Patreon page. Check it out. We want to build this community up for HeroesForge, and we want to start doing things like battleground forging and also letting you guys in on how we choose the heroes that will be forged every week-to-week basis, and opening up some voting and some really cool goals that I hope we can reach over at our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/HeroesForge. So that, I mean, Kristen, I don't know about you, but I thought the Innkeeper was a blast.
Oh, no doubt. I'm having more fun with these Hearthstone characters than I honestly thought I would, because I've been slow to Hearthstone, because I've been hurt in the past with card games. Magic the Gathering being fun.
Yeah, Magic has just a steep learning curve at the beginning. I mean, it takes so much. I played it like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And when I played it then, it had a certain set of rules, and I recently tried to pick it up again, and it has gotten crazy since then. I went to a tournament and tried to play with some friends, and they just are doing things, and I'm going, I'm just going to sit back and watch you do this so that I can see how the game plays now.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I kept trying to play with Kyle. He was kind enough to sit me through and teach me, but it seems like each time we'd play, there'd be a new rule that I'd have to learn. And after the 50th game, that kind of got a little tiring.
Yeah, I totally believe it, and that's why Hearthstone is a little more user friendly because it's newer.
Yes.
So it's a great game, just like all these Blizzard games are great games, and we are huge fans, and we know if you're listening to this that you're a huge fan too. And thanks for listening to HeroesForge, everybody, and I guess that we're going to call it the end of the show there, and we'll see you all in the real world.